What is going on? Welcome back. I know it's been a minute since we have been on this and done this. Uh, this is Are We Watching? If it's welcome back, for those welcome back, if this is your first time seeing or hearing, welcome. This is Are We Watching? Where we talk about shows, films, the things that we are watching, obviously, both old and new, and what's going on in the world around it. Today we have Jordan on. He's a very good friend of the show, very good friend of mine. And we're talking about the Golden Globes, direction of horror, and just those various type of things. Hope you enjoy it. Once again, the name is Courtroom Brown, me, aka Benjamin. Uh, and this is Are We Watching?
Oh yeah, I need to start actually paying attention to the shit. And this is welcome back everybody. It's been a long time. Obviously, Angelo's not here. Angelo Summer off doing something, trying to live a life that only Angelo could live. So today for standing in, we have a very good friend, a friend of the show, Jordan. Take it in.
What up?
It's the same thing where it was just us talking about this shit. This is a new year, trying to make this more consistent. So we're got just work on it. That's all it is. It's just the same shit that we always do. And with that, welcome back to Are We Watching? The new shit's this. Now, just for a little bit background on Jordan, your your background comes from what, film school, and also being just a fan of like not even very specific and different art forms when it comes to film and dealing with your experience from school.
I think it all goes. Shout out University of Never Leaving Vegas, UNLV. All my film professors are dead now. Life gets in the way. I would
Ah,
say it's an affinity for the arts. It's the culmination of watching stuff, retaining it. I mean, I think the art of the popcorn movie is lost, especially on horror movies. So everything has a message, and you watch something and it sticks with you forever.
mm-hmm.
So, by no means an expert, but I've seen more people killed with an ice pick than I've seen an ice pick used. So which usually gives you a balance of how much you know horror movies.
Yeah, that's always amazing. More people killed with an ice pick than it used. Jesus. So, interestingly enough, we were supposed to do this a while ago. It didn't happen. Things came up. Life happens. The thing that was made it interesting was last night was the Golden Globes. Just happened last night. And with it, like, I didn't watch the Golden Globes. I still have this. I don't know how you feel about award shows, but for me specifically, they're not for me. I don't think they're for me at all as a fan, because the more I see stuff, the more I'm paying attention to it. When I did, it was like, yo, what the hell is going on? This isn't, I don't know, any of this stuff, some of these things. And then things that are clearly, like there was one year, I think it was in the Grammys, where Beck won Album of the Year. And I remember thinking, I know who Beck is. I had no idea he had an album out. I didn't hear not one thing from Beck at all. So it was very interesting. And then I kind of started looking at the award shows overall as a whole, and I'm like, yeah, most of the stuff isn't for me. I just don't care enough because it doesn't seem like it really rewards people. It seems like it really rewards campaigns, because people got to do those campaigns, to get these awards. And yeah, I don't. How do you feel about these award shows that be popping off?
I mean, it's everything. I mean, we're talking film and the awards in that same suit. It's how much of this stuff that you don't see. It's okay. You know, you're going to find out who the best actor, actress, screenplay, film, TV show. You know, there's so much of this goes into it, and then you'll start talking to somebody, or you'll go down the rabbit hole, and you're like, "Yo, what the fuck? How did so and so win?" A Grammy for this, or they won an Oscar for this, or they won a Golden Globe, and it's something you've never heard. And then you realize they're not showcasing every single award they have. I mean,
No.
you're not learning about the number one jazz proficiency book by an educator, but somebody won an award for it, and it was listed in the program. But they're not televising that. Nobody cares. it always comes down what makes for the most entertaining television, what's going to captivate audiences. And, as we know, they love to force feed stuff down people's throats. So they decide what we're going to watch. They're going to decide what we think we should be focusing on. And as always, money proves a point. So whatever the campaign is, it's going to push the narrative. But as we know, most of that stuff, it generally is it is a lot better. I think that idea of saying you're a horror fan, you're not watching every dime a dozen slasher on Tubi or going down the rabbit hole, and you quickly realize there's a lot of trash out there. So, usually it is the best of the best, but it turns out that they're the ones that can afford to make it a little bit better. Also, I just found out Jeff Beck and Beck Hansen aren't the same person.
Jeff Beck and Beck Hansen. Oh God.
I thought they were. Shout out Yardbirds.
Also, if you want to, you're kind of off frame to, I don't know if that's your left a little bit. You want to come over a little bit more to yeah, right there, about somewhere like a little bit, go back right there. There you go. That's like center. That's perfect. That's good. So like last night, a comedy, which somebody who won for best musical or comedy. Could you guess what movie that was?
Best music in a movie?
Musical or comedy, for a movie that is, the category was best musical or comedy.
Going Sinners.
That would have been good. One
Yeah,
battle
it
after
should've won.
another. One battle after another. I did not see that as a comedy. I didn't know that was a comedy. I had no idea.
I don't know. Are we going back to the kind of Greek basis of you have comedies and you have tragedies? I don't know if you ever read the Divine Comedy. Not that funny. It's a little funny. It's not that funny. So they group everything together, right? That's got to
Yeah.
be the case for it. So they put the two together and they're like, well, it's a little more comedy than anything else. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio crying because his character is too high. Plenty hilarious.
That was.
One of the best villains in a long time. But yeah, that seems.
Yeah,
they're not going to not let Paul Thomas Anderson win something, but they're going to jerk him around.
I think PTA got like 3 awards for that night. 3 awards, which is just okay, cool. You got 3 awards. Unfortunately, they did shut out most of Sinners. I think Sinners got the best original score with Ludwig, and then they got the best. There was another one they got, but what was crazy about them getting the best original score was it was awarded to Ludwig during a commercial break. So you don't even get them on TV to have his acceptance speech, which is kind of whack. It was like, for reals, we felt like since the beginning, there was something against Sinners. Like there was a concerted effort. And I think mainly the biggest concerted effort against Sinners was the deal that Ryan Coogler made to get it back and how he's going to own the movie and own all the rights. And he's a director who's been around for maybe 10,
he's going 10 plus years.
Yeah, 10 plus years at the now, but he made a deal that nobody else has made, and he's going to get his stuff back. And I think that was very frowned upon because they probably made that deal with him thinking, oh yeah, for sure, your movie's not going to do good. And then the movie does fantastic. And now we can't award that. Yeah, they won cinematic and box office achievement. Cinematic and box office achievement and best original score. But I think it was like, we can't allow you to get anything from that because it's just going to incentivize other directors to be like, hey, let's get our projects back after a certain amount of time. Because, let's own the media. And I think they're kind of fighting against that, which is trash because Sinners is not even my favorite movie of last year, but Sinners was good and it was deserving of some of the shit that it should have got. I think it should have got a little bit more awards. And this is another reason why I just don't think the awards are for me because it's obviously it was played in, because how do you get the best cinematics box office achievement? And the only other award you get is original score.
You know, whether they talk about the campaign, are they involved in it and they push for it? I mean, you know, I think we can always think of the Golden Globes as the little brother to the Oscar. I mean, it's an achievement, and I know people aim and shape for it, but it kind of falls wayside. I mean, to think about it, I mean, I didn't even know it was happening last night. I didn't catch it. I didn't focus on it. I'm not going somewhere to watch it.
Oh yeah, no.
You know, especially nowadays with the entertainment cycle, how heavily sensationalized is something. I mean, they're controlling the narrative, and so they're throwing it in our face. So something like Sinners, where any other year could have absolutely dominated, but I didn't think 2025 in film was particularly amazing. So
Right.
it should have swept everything. So who knows if there's a narrative against it? I mean, maybe Coogler didn't campaign for all these other positions, for all these other awards, but you know, the
Yeah,
guy's
that's
got
true.
talent and he's going to continue to make the movies that he wants to. And now that there's proven returns, you know, the studios will give it to him. The studios
And
will let him negotiate it.
and that's good. Another thing that's funny is like, you know how I found out the Golden Globes were on yesterday? I happened to turn into Twitch. I happened to turn into Twitch, and Caroline Kwan was on, and she was watching the Golden Globes. That's how I found out. That's legitimately how I found out. And I was like, "The fuck? This is really happening right now?" Then I turned it off. I really didn't care. But
Well, yeah, you're watching
yeah,
someone else's reaction to it.
yeah. And that's how I found out it was happening. It's stupid. But like you were saying, Ryan Coogler, like having the proven factors there now, it's kind of getting to do what he wants because the next one he's moving on to is X-Files. But another director, a cat that I know that you like, who's doing what he wants, specifically with a format over on Netflix, is Rian Johnson, and it's the Knives Out series. And he's said himself with the Knives Out series that like he enjoys these, he loves them, and he wants to continue to make them as long as he's having fun making them and doing it like his way. In other words, nobody else gets involved in it. He doesn't want involved in it.
Well, and same thing. I mean, he's proven his worth. He's proven his box office success. I mean, there is this thing where if you dabble and put your hands in too much, I mean, nobody really wants to. You know, you look at his come up and the quality of work and understanding and what he's done. You get a Star Wars movie. I mean, they're gonna now everybody's gonna want. They know they can sell your name. They know they can add that on something, especially when you go international, worldwide. You have
Yeah.
your name attached to that. So now with him creating effectively what Netflix wants the buzz, they want the communication, you know, for the average moviegoer where suddenly someone will be like, hey, I remember seeing that movie. I don't know who directed it. Oh, this is similar. Yeah, I'll watch this. They're still catching the I don't know what I want crowd on Netflix or
Yeah.
whatever Netflix wants to put right in front of you. I mean, you ever go down the rabbit hole of somebody else's Netflix trying to find one of your deep cuts on a show? I'm not talking about anything top 10, but you go through somebody else's algorithm trying to find what you're looking for.
It's the
And
worst.
unless you have similar taste, you know, it's hard to hunt that stuff down. And then once the algorithm's developed, it's set that way. So you got to tweak it a little bit. I mean, all that stuff happens. So
Yeah.
I think Rian Johnson's future creating these. I mean, we got the wackiest characters in the real world beyond any fiction. Always a good basis for it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see another couple of them. It's going to be the True Detective signal, you know. Everyone's always going to talk about how Knives Out was the best, but then everything else that came after was okay or it was good. And then he'll hand it off to somebody else to take care of it because he believes in them and trusts them, or it'll just phase out.
I think from his effort of saying like he wants to do Knives Out as long as possible. I think that's leaning also on the I like it. It's successful. I'm gonna treat everything else like work, and then this is my personal. I'm gonna have fun type of projects when I do it because he does a really good job at creating the Benoit Blanc is your typical, if you think about it, main character. But when it comes to the films, Benoit Blanc is like also a side character because it's an ensemble cast, and they do a very good job, especially with the last one, Knives Out. He didn't bring him in for a bit of the movie. You don't get to see Benoit Blanc, and the movie was still very good, and it relied on everybody else. And I think I really like that more than two. So I went back and watched the first one, Glass Onion, and Wake Up Dead Men, and I liked Wake Up Dead Men more than I liked Glass Onion. Glass Onion was still enjoyable, but I think Wake Up Dead Men was better and more enjoyable.
Well, and now you have that again, that character. You have that. I mean, I know Angela Lansbury played her in Murder She Wrote, but you create this character, you create something. Now you can let your story shine. You don't have to keep feeding exposition. You don't have to keep building tension and creation. You can allow the film to do that, the story to do that. And then people have a character they already know. And you have the crowds working for you. They're like, oh, well, I haven't seen the other two. You'll be able to jump right in. You'll be able to figure it out real quickly, or you'll be able to enjoy this without, or you won't. You know what I mean? There are these films where
Right.
it's like, oh, you've never seen that? No, you can't. You can't just jump right in. But Knives Out, and especially Rian Johnson doing that, he knows you'll be able to just go ahead and jump right into it.
Yeah. And I do enjoy those, and I think they're going off in a good way. Even like besides what he's doing with his films, last year may not have been like the best year of films, but it also kind of highlighted people seeming to like solidify or find their path. We talked about with Ryan Coogler with Sinners and how he's going to be picking up X-Files, and it's something that he's been wanting to do, and doing it as a series, which I instead of a movie, which I'm looking forward to because I really want to see what his take would be with it, because that's another like sci-fi horror-esque type of route. But then you also have somebody like Zach Cregers, who had Barbarian beforehand and just did Weapons, and Weapons was another big talked about movie that was also successful for him. And it seems like it's solidifying their places in like directions that they want to go for their films and stuff.
Those are big things. I mean, you look at Krager's background as a comedic actor and a comedic writer, and understanding how all that goes in. He also produced Companion, which I thought was great. It was enjoyable. It was able to kind of just turn my brain off and say, hey, this is great. This is fun.
Yeah.
So seeing that, especially like you talk about with, these new directors in this line with Nia DaCosta, who has more of a horror theme with it, Zach Kragers, who has more of a horror theme to it. We're in good hands with this next kind of big budget horror, which again used to be a, kind of a secondary genre, kind of got lost to everything else.
Yeah.
So, as we know, the Academy loves period pieces. It'll be great to see some other things move forward in a new direction and some other genres get a shine that do deserve it. So, I'm excited because they're going to give Kragers what he wants. He's able to create these things. Jordan Peele's another one of these cases. They're going to be able to create the films they want to. The producers, everyone on the back end is not going to, control it and slaughter it, because there's so many movies you hear about from the 80s and the 90s where the director's not satisfied because somebody went in, chopped something up, changed something up, and now your director doesn't stand behind something, you're less inclined to watch it. Talk about all that stuff with Madam Web, where half the cast is just completely shitting on it. That I was already not inclined to watch it, and now it's like I don't want to watch it even more. None of you guys stand behind it, so why would I go?
And specifically with that, because I hate watch that. I went and I forced myself to watch it because I was going to do a piece about just the Sony Marvel movies and how bad they were. But with that film specifically, with that movie, you get that they shot it, and originally it was going to be involved in some MCU storyline, and then it was going to be they're going to have it be part of Spider-Man's, but Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. and then they like reworked it to take out all the references to Spider-Man from it. And it's supposed to be like Adam Scott's supposed to be Uncle Ben. And Uncle Ben is Spider-Man's uncle. So he was too young to be, Peter Parker's uncle in that film. And then the way that they shot it, you could tell that they shot a different movie. And then that they just course corrected to what they wanted to be. But they still had those same parts in that same movie. And it was so bad. When I tell you how it was bad, the things that they took, for instance, there's no Spider-Man, but then everybody gets spider suits. There is no Spider-Man. However, the way that her story starts is her mom is I think it's in the Amazon forest, is in Brazil, is almost dying, gets bit by a spider, she gives birth. That's where Manos Web powers come from. But she's being handled by this Amazonian tribe of these people down there who are also, for some reason, have suits that look like spiders, somewhat. And then in the beginning of the movie, I swear to you, in the beginning of the movie, when they first talk, they have an accent. And then you see them later in the movie, and then their accent is gone completely.
That's just people not reviewing the dailies, not communicating. Like, if it's trash, scrap your product, start over. But they don't want to lose something.
It was so bad. And then I do kind of feel for like all the actors in it because, like you're saying, they're kind of shitting on it. And one of the things I saw was apparently they were told it was going to be part of like Marvel MCU. And then they found out quickly, like, this isn't, you guys aren't attached to anything. This is just Sony. And, what made it funny after that, they did Craven. And then there was an executive over at Sony who said, I don't think we've made any bad movies. And he's just regarding the Marvel films. He's like, I don't think we made any bad movies at all. I think it's just you guys, people watching it and stuff like that. He's like, dog, take accountability. They're already out. They're out and people have seen them. Just say, hey, we dropped the ball. We dropped the ball. Our bad. But he didn't even want to do that. And it was like, this is where you guys are going to continue to have shitty movies. Nobody wants to just be like, hey, sorry, that was bad product. We got a course correct. Yeah.
Listen, directors can add Alan Smithy if they don't want their name attached. The studio's got to commit. You let that happen. So either stand by it or light it up and then work on the next thing out. But don't half-ass this shit. That's always going to be the case.
Not at all. That's so crazy. It was so bad. I can't state just how bad it was, that movie. But it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen. And I think one of the reasons some of these movies end up like really failing as well is there is a lack of commitment to putting a great film out there on a like smaller budget that you don't have to worry about making the money back from.
Go ahead.
It's just taking that risk to be like, hey, we're gonna do something that's kind of creative, that's kind of unique. Give it a shot. We're not gonna give it a super big budget. It doesn't need a big budget. Just to say, we put something together just to see how it is. And sometimes those turn out to be hits.
Well, there's always been the stance. It's why a lot of first-time directors shine, and then everything after that just doesn't. You know what I mean? If you have to make it work, you will. I think what's also happened is streaming, entering the streaming market isn't necessarily as financially viable like DVDs and rentals was. That was a big part of why those indie comedies and indie films that really kind of word of mouth pop between late 90s and the 2000s was, again, because they knew they would make their money in the rentals and DVDs. Now it's all on a streaming service. You can't walk into a Blockbuster unless you go to Oregon. When's the last time you went to your grocery store to try and rent something? It's like they're selling DVDs in bins by these on the off chance somebody might pick it up. That truly is what kind of has shaped this. I don't think anyone goes in with the intention of making something not for profit, but they don't really know how to make it on the secondary market if it doesn't thrive in a theater. I mean, you're seeing all this stuff that people produce and they put it in circuits and they put it in everything else, and then it just gets dropped on a streaming, or you have to hunt it down on some other service for it. So that's
Right.
it's a remarkable thing now because they face those limitations. People don't realize that when you talk about a production, oh, this movie costs this much money. Probably didn't cost that much. They spend it on marketing, they spend it on promotions, on
Well,
everything else. And not everyone has that budget or knows how to place it through. I mean, think about it. When you're driving, we're in Vegas, we're driving around. What movie do you remember seeing on a billboard other than a big
yeah.
box office smash? That change, you're walking down LA, you're walking down some of these other cities, and they're plastered with paper mache and little photocopied posters everywhere. We don't have anything like that. So it's interesting to see how that market changes. So, how do you generate this? If you know your movie is not going to thrive in theaters, how do you create a buzz and a demand? Who do you enlist? How do you make this pop? How do you make this shine?
Right, true. I think that is because that you're right about that. That being a big success. The aftermarket, for instance, specifically, Grandma's Boy did terrible in the theaters, killed it on the DVD and rental market, absolutely murdered it. So yeah, that is a big cause and effect. Another thing too is there's some films that can make it to theaters. For instance, Juno. Juno was shot on a 7 million budget and it made 231 million. It, that's is like nowadays that would be kind of unheard of, but I think it's come at the hands of involving too much shareholders, involving too many people who are gonna benefit from the movie, but they don't know precisely how to reach engagement, how to promote. They don't know how to do any of these other things, but they're allowed to make decisions that affect that stuff because Juno apparently followed a formula that they came up with that was very successful for them. Even what was the other one? Hold on. I got it over here. Napoleon Dynamite, 400,000, 46 million. 400,000 production budget. It made 46 million theaters. I believe that was theaters. And the box office was 46 million. And it's like, there is a way to do it because even recently, Five Nights at Freddy's did very well, but then I heard the second movie wasn't as good. Megan was another one that did very well, and then the second one kind of became something else and didn't do as good. I think a lot of it just becomes these points where it's like, how would you sustain? How would you create a profile that could sustain your success that you did? Or does it need to be one of those things where Sinners, Ryan Coogler said, that's it. Like it's that he doesn't want to do anything else. And I just seen this video the other day of I think it was one of the producers or somebody involved, like in the higher ups, talking about expanding that world or making a sequel or making others for that. And it's kind of like, no, you don't need to. So is it also taking those type of things? Like should some things that were again Napoleon Dynamite, one film, Juno, one film. Five Nights at Freddy's, two films. The first one killed it. The second one didn't quite do the same. Same with Megan. It's like, are people trying to grasp for too much?
Well, I mean, starting at the end of this and going back, I mean, Megan 2, they completely changed the genres. Megan 2 is no longer, horror comedy. It's more, action, thriller comedy with some horror elements. So they kind of shifted the narrative. They changed what that movie was because realistically, you couldn't make Megan 2 again. People are tired of the slasher trope. So they took a chance and it failed. I mean, they had a third one in the books, or there was talks of it. That's scrapped for at least now. Is there going to be a Megan cinematic universe? We don't need it, but that's the idea. Everyone wants to take these IPs and expand it. And then you start to go backwards. I mean, especially with Sinners, they saw that, how much in it. Not everyone needs a backstory. Gladys doesn't need a backstory from Weapons, but they look at these things. Is this something somebody would pay for? Is there money? Are we going to get a Bowser origin story in the Mario Brothers movie? Because if somebody can write it and they can convince the studio, they'll spend the money and they'll make it happen. You look at Napoleon Dynamite, and if I remember, shot made, created, if I recall, MTV Studios was the one who acquired it, and they knew how to churn that out into their fan base, into the viewers, and then it expands over. It's clean comedy, so it's approachable for everybody else. It's silly.
Right.
But you do look at that branching that it did. I mean, John Heater's rise and fall, and I don't say it as a fall as if it's tragic. It's just, there's the TV show, the little cartoon that they did. There's a while, and you can go back and look at all these things where John Heater is a featured character. He's a main one. And now you have that ensemble cast that is blown up. Aziz Ansari's way bigger than him. There were a couple of these movies that these guys did. And if you look at how those movies are promoted now, they're shaped front and center. Horror movies do that all the time. They're shot on low budgets. They come back. I mean, we grew up with Kevin Bacon as a household name by the time, but he's a small actor in that first Friday the 13th. And then it expands, and then it, mentions his name. Matthew McConaughey, Renee Zellweger, and that terrible Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. She gets an Oscar nom for Jerry Maguire. They use that in the marketing to bring people back. Like, oh, hey, we did this movie with her. She won an Oscar, so it's got to be good. And you're like, oh, this thing's still a piece of shit. And then go into something like Five Nights at Freddy's that had this massive growth and influx where I don't know a single, especially at the time when it developed, it was shaping the lives of every single kid out there. They were all obsessed with it. Now they've all grown up. They're willing to watch it. You have a secondary generation. And again, that kind of Five Nights at Freddy universe, you can't keep making this kid sitting in an office getting scared. How do you expand it off? Which characters do you kill off? Do they come back? And same thing. It just turns into another dribble. It's just, what are they churning out from the first one? And it always kind of falls on how much exposition do you really have to dump back into it? Because do you let your audience figure this stuff on their own, or do you force feed it to them? Because now if they make something that branches off from Sinners, do you just set it in the cinematic universe? You just mention the characters? Or do you have to spend 20, 30, 80% of the movie letting people know, oh, hey, this also takes place during Sinners. This also happens. Like, no. Just throw it in there. If there's one thing M. Night Shyamalan's done right in the last 20 years, it's the twist ending at the end of Split, bringing back Bruce Willis's character. I mean, you don't realize that now it's all related. Shout out Bruce Willis. I'm sorry we're losing you.
Yeah. But that's crazy. You're correct. Also with the Napoleon Dynamite, I did look up. It was acquired by Fox Searchlight, and it partnered with MTV Films and Paramount Pictures. So yeah, you're right on that. But yeah, it's funny that you said exposition, because when Superman came out, James Gunn didn't want to do an origin story again. So in the first 3 minutes of the film, he gave the exposition of everything that has happened. Everything that you already know. Superheroes exist 3 years ago. This man is about this age. This is what happened, blah, blah, blah. The whole entire rundown in that first 3 minutes, just line by line. And then they started the film. And it worked out great. And the main reason that worked was because of that film. Everybody knows the IP of Superman. Superman has been around for such a long time that more people know about the history of it than don't. Now with something smaller, it's going to take that other aspect of it, where if you don't do it like an M. Night Shyamalan, which again, what he did with Split was great, you're left with forcing it, either, like you said, forcing it straight down to people's throats, or somehow making a convoluted reason how it's connected. And I think that also, when it gets to that point, that should be a clear indication of maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Like, if we got to think too hard on how we're expanding this into another world or something, maybe this doesn't need a sequel. Maybe this doesn't need something else. I think one of the things that has been a problem, but hasn't like been looked at too much is the limited series, miniseries format. Because I love those as it is. Like, The Outsiders was really good. Maniac was another good one. Chernobyl. These good, just limited one season series. But to take that into account to be like, hey, I want to do something in this world, but it doesn't necessarily need to be another movie. There's a longer format that you could treat just like a film just told out over 8 episodes, 8 or 10 episodes. And it gets to the point where you can express how it's connected to the world without shoving it down people's throats. And I think that format's kind of like mostly, not even mostly, just not being used for a lot of different things, which could be very beneficial with telling stories.
Well, we'll touch base on Ryan Coogler doing X-Files. There's the talk of Danish crime dramas that are 6, 8 episodes. You can create this theme and an episode in an individual format and then something in the overarching series. I think we are seeing a better case of that. I mean, look at Ozarks. Ozarks knew they could only do a few seasons. Vince Gilligan always thought he was going to lose Breaking Bad. The first season of Breaking Bad was supposed to be it.
Yeah, it was
And they did the second one, and he thought he was going to lose it. And then they did the third one, and it was right around the time the third one finishes where they say, "Hey, we're gonna how long do you want to go?" And he goes, 5 seasons. We can't keep doing this. Supernatural, 14 seasons.
Jesus, man.
They had basically admitted that it was supposed to end after the 5th one.
Yeah.
What's at stake? I mean, look at everything that's going on in Marvel Cinematic Universe. Thanos destroys half the universe. So now I'm supposed to care that they're coming back. There's no threat.
Yeah.
So as you go into these and you create, I think that's harder for them to do. I mean, they've looked at the success of Black Mirror as an anthology series, individual episodes with a season, some of these shorter shows, but Stranger Things also supposed to go in that Halloween anthology. It was supposed to be this, and then it turns out, no, we want to expand on all these characters. If I recall, the Duffer Brothers had the intentions of each season was just supposed to be one story, similar world, similar timelines, whatever, and then it expands over. And that's it throws you for a loop because suddenly you're successful and they're like, no, you gotta keep this. So now these writers, the showrunners, their only option is kill off the main character, or you end up in a Preacher situation. They create that prequel season, which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the second season of Preacher, which is the beginning of the comic book. And then they ended it after the third, and they were like, give me at least 4. And they were like, no. And now they got to rush through their whole story. They got to gut stuff, and ultimately it fails. So, these studios are looking, if it's generating money, they want to keep it. So again, it always goes back to your creator. Give them control. Let them willingly write the characters out, give them an ending, finish it off. You don't need multiple sequels.
No.
You don't need all this going on. So, or fuck it, you do it and you let them rake in all the money. Listen, I'm not gonna see these Avatar movies anytime soon, but they're still generating hundreds of millions of dollars. So let Cameron have his fun.
True. And it's the double edge of it, where if these people want to go on forever doing something that's making money, but it gets to be like, you guys lost the plot completely. I'm not gonna get too crazy about you, but I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna give a damn about it at all. And then you also gotta, like, if you guys are going for money and it starts to fail, you just gotta take that L. Like, you're going for money and it's not working out. But then there's other things, for instance, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, a cartoon that came out 20 years ago on Nickelodeon. The fan base for it is super dedicated, hella dedicated. They had a second series called The Legend of Korra that got did dirty by Nickelodeon, Justice for Korra. But still, like in that process, there was such a there's still such a dedicated and strong fan base for it that they tried making that movie with M. Night that was horrible and people hated it and wrote it off. Then they made the Netflix series, which I get a lot of mixed signals from, but from a lot of fans, actual fans of the show, they're saying is not good. They don't really care for it. So, but even though they're coming out with a second season, and then you get they create Avatar Studios. It's like the creators are back in control. They're going to do this, and this, and do their own things. And then you hear about they're making a movie called The Legend of Aang, which is when the main character from Avatar, from The Last Airbender, is older before Legend of Korra. What happened before Legend of Korra? And the fans wanted it. And they're saying, we're making it a movie. It's going to be an animated film, not live action. We're going to put it in the theaters. And then news comes out, hey, it's being pulled from theaters. It's supposed to come out in October. We're pulling it from theaters and it's just going to premiere on Paramount Plus. And that immediately I made a video about it and I've been able to talk to some fans about it. It created like a shift in confidence because people are like, oh, the creators are back, so things are going to go right. An animated film, again, you have the people that are there that been wanting to, they are so invested in the story for like 20 plus years. And now you're going to have an animated film, especially after Chainsaw Man did killer at the box office. Demon Slayer did great at the box office. So you still have like that hand-drawn animation that is killing it in the box office. And they decide, now we're going to pull it. And you kind of look at the cast list and they do got sort of a bigger cast than they normally have. But it also feels like, do you guys no longer have confidence in this? Do you guys no longer like, what is going wrong that this was supposed to be in theaters? All the fans are happy about it. Nobody's talking shit about it being in theaters. So you guys pulling it now from theaters and like, it's just going to premiere on Paramount Plus.
I gotta relate that to some merchandising speculation. I mean, I've been following every trend that's going on because we realistically only have major movie theaters out here. You have what? We had two kind of smaller art house theaters, one closed. The other one operates in a whole different animal. They don't show anything that's debuting. So, because now you're completely missing out on any merchandising. I don't even watch the show, but you tell me there's a popcorn bucket with that guy, with that bald kid in the Arrows hat. I'm getting it. I want the Aang popcorn bucket. That's drinks. That's because this entire generation that grew up with that show, that first generation when it catered to what, 9 to 15-year-olds, 9 to 17-year-olds, whatever. It's 20 years later. These kids have their own families. They have disposable income. Even if there's a younger generation that came in later, they're in that 21, 22-year-old category. They're going to drink. They're going to spend money. They will make an experience out of this. So was there a merchandising issue that the theaters couldn't agree upon? So now suddenly they're like, oh, well, we'll go on streaming. Because what's the control and the benefit? That's going to hoist them in there. So it's always an interesting element. I'm a single guy. If I go on a date to a movie, it doesn't cost me that much. It's the cost of the movie ticket, maybe a soda, maybe popcorn. $100 because that shit's expensive. But now going as a family, it's an incredibly expensive experience. So if there's this push for people for at-home theaters, for the streaming, I mean, that throws me through a loop because this is supposed to be an epic, a grand scale performance. People want to watch that in theaters. So that throws me for a loop why they would remove it. I mean, other than money, other than some other focus on it.
Yeah, it's a very, very weird thing that it's definitely shot a bunch of fans' confidence that it would even be good. And it's actually funny that you like the broad grasp of like the audience of it because I got my mom into it. My grown ass mom, I got her watching the cartoon because she ended up loving it. And then I've just run into a bunch of people where they kind of come across those type of things and they're just like, I wasn't expecting this to be this. It's the same thing as parents who have like young kids, and then they put on Bluey for the kids. I'm pretty sure you talk to some of those parents where they're just like, yo, I didn't expect it to be like what it was. And I find like my brother with his kids, my homeboy and my godson, they're like, you know, first thing, I mean, I just had it on and then I found myself watching it with them, type of stuff. And it's just one of
It's
those
deep.
things.
Yeah. That there are these things that cater where they can create a entertainment that encompasses everybody. So
Yeah. And it's a shame that sometimes, because I honestly think profits get in the way in the wrong mindset. It's the same as having having a boss come in who's working a job, who's brand new, doesn't know anything, but either has a connection, either has a degree or something, and they got into the same job as you and they're brand new. You've been there for years, and then all of a sudden they're like trying to tell you what to do. And it's like, dude, that's not, that's not going to work. And they're like, nah, just let me, I know what I'm doing type of shit. We've all run into those at various jobs of people doing that. And it's unfortunate, like how heavy handed they are in the film and like TV industry for that.
it shapes it. I mean, you look at this stuff because these major theaters, you got to sign contracts. If you have 10 plus 20 screens, whatever, you know, they tell you got to show this movie for that direction. That's what's killing the small movie theater. It all relates to money. So how do you reach out? Where was there a loss of something? Because they're missing out on so much merchandising for that, because that puts people in the theaters to go get anything on that line. And it always relates back. Are you creating art for the sake of art? Or, is it art for profit? Because then it branches off. I mean, what, you go into your local Hot Topic or Lunchbox, Target, Walmart, you go down any given aisle, there's going to be something that has Avatar attached to it for the longest time. I mean, less so with the cookies and the candies and the toothpaste and all this stuff, but like you can go to any one of those big box or some of these smaller ones, they're gonna have a shirt, they're gonna have some merch for it in some regard to it, where there's something that's getting missed on that opportunity. So whatever Paramount's paying them to have it and control it, because now what are you going to do? You're going to later release it in theaters? That defeats the purpose for it entirely. Whatever they're doing to control it and have it on streaming, fuck yeah, it's off to them.
Hey, I'll eventually find out once it comes out. It's still crazy, but it is like kind of also leaning into the audience grass and also just the way people feel about some of these films and like them doing not just films, but shows too. And the money kind of fucking it up for everybody is I think they forget like how films shape people, how films shape people's ideas, shape people's thoughts, and how they develop that longevity, because Seinfeld is still watched on streaming, and Seinfeld has been what came out in the early 90s, mid 90s. You got all these shows that
80s. That show
hey,
ended,
there
I
you
think,
go.
in 96, 97. So
Yeah,
we're coming up
Seinfeld.
on 28 years.
Yeah, and it's these things where it is the shows that shaped ideas in people, but it's also a good enough product that it's going to stand the test of time. Like if you're there, if you create a good enough product, it's gonna stand the test of time. Odyssey has this line where he talks about making music, and not just pretty much he's making music and he's not trying to just give you the everyday normal dribble shit. He's trying to create something with a substance, because so it'll last like music in the 70s and the 80s. And it's true. A lot of these things these days, the substance, that movie, goddamn, dropped the ball. But a lot of these things they're creating, they're like, I don't think they're thinking about how movie shapes people and then just having substance. I just did I did a thing talking about A Bug's Life and how, like, did we take the right clues from it? And this person had come in and said, like, I watched this when I was a kid and it helped shape some of my ideas that I still hold to this day. and people just kind of don't understand it. It's like that's what these things do. That's what good film, that's what good shows do, is they also help shape people. I don't it's I think that's also being forgotten when they're doing these things. Like, this might be impactful to somebody, or it's just, I don't care about the impact that much it's going to have on somebody. I just want to know if it's going to make money. That's
Well,
all.
it's the have the if that's your secondary, it's there's this trend going on, especially in the bar right now, where the joke is you can be a good person or you can be a good bartender. You know, what are you providing for? What are you creating? Are you developing and creating art, or is it just explosions and violence? And that all kind of circles back into the horror theme, where horror has now became a genre people look into that shapes them because it helps them question their moral compass. It's not all black and white. There's gray. There's elements to all these things. People wanted to rip on all the horror of the 80s, saying racial prejudice, that the minorities were always killed off, that anyone that wasn't a virgin was killed off, that women were, personally victimized and terrorized and murdered. And there were so many of these movies that had no substance and no product to them. And that creates the video nasties era, and it bans all this stuff for the longest time. But you do look at overarching themes in some of these. I mean, the first Nightmare on Elm Street, it empowers Nancy, and it shows that her oppressor has no control over her. And then Freddy loses his power. Spoiler alert. But as you changed everything, and 90s Scream brings out the meta element that people are more educated, that people are smarter. And then it was the 2000s where it was the extremities. It's like people want to see horror and gross and violence. And then it loses its way again because there isn't a moral compass that is being discovered. There isn't anything shaping up. It's, I'm just watching this to see how terrible somebody can be shredded apart or killed or tortured.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing a secondary wave where there are feelings, there are multiple elements that are going into it. I mean, and we'll touch back down on Sinners. I mean, these characters have lives. They have things they're trying to focus on, the lasting legacy, wanting to remove things where it really makes you care about them. I won't give too many spoilers around. It only came out last year, but there's a couple deaths in that movie that hit a lot harder because you care about the characters.
Yeah.
Where this could have just been another period piece horror movie with violence and sex, and that's not the case. So seeing that develop is, I think, what matters the most. So we are getting a second wave of people inspired by art and all this talent, and that can be profitable. So if
Very
they
much
could
so.
focus more on that and hone it in, I mean, we have a great future ahead.
I
Till we get
agree.
another one.
I agree. I think so. And then there was another part of Sinners that I almost forgot. One of my favorite parts in that film was it the way that they showed it. And if you looked, you could see how it was being explained, was in the scene in the juke joint with Preacher Boy singing, and they're talking about how music connects you through your history from the future to the past. And he's singing and he's doing his thing, and it goes back in the past and it kind of reaches into the future, but you get that for everybody who's there. So you get that for all the black people who are there. And then the two Chinese cats who are also there, who's like part of the fam, part of the crew, you get them too. You get their history in it as well. Even though they're not making the music, they're there. So you get that, it shows that connectivity between everybody in the juke joint. Shows that connectivity, shows that family, it shows that history of everybody. And it's all through that music scene. And then later on, when the vampire is coming and he's doing this little jig and him singing and trying to get everybody to join him, it's only him. It's nobody else. It's just him. It doesn't show anybody else being really involved. It shows that the focus is just him. And I was like, yo, that's That's fucking wild. That's a dope commentary without it being said. That was like really crazy, something that I saw, and I was like, that's brilliance right there. And even after it happened, which is a thing that I love, is it's not talked about. It's not made a point in the film. Like, you either saw it or you didn't see it. Let's keep it pushing. Let's keep it pushing because we're telling our story here and making these things work. And yeah, I feel like that's moving into like the great, like you said, we have some good stuff ahead of us, especially with people doing things like that. Because even one of my a horror movie that I actually really liked from back in, I want to say, I think it was like 2012 or some shit like that, Cabin in the Woods, because it took all of the tropes and then it just flipped them. You have Chris Hemsworth, who's supposed to be your dumb jock. Very smart, and yeah, and they just did everything different and odd, and it still everything like still fell apart. But it was still cool to see like somebody taking a risk. I'm like, hey, we're gonna tell a horror story. We're gonna take all these supposed tropes, and instead of just following the same format, let's switch it up a little bit and see how it works out. And it worked out. It very
Well,
much.
it's interesting because you look at the timeline. So the movie comes out in 2012 after the Avengers. The movie was made in 2009. Remember, that was Josh Whedon. And Josh
Yeah, that
Whedon's off
was.
the success of Buffy, and the studios went back and they're like, we have a major box name. Now we can market this anymore. And
You're right.
it's twisted. One of my favorite tropes is they hide Franz's physique because that guy was way more shredded than anyone else on the, he's
You're
supposed
right.
to be the stereotypical nerd. So there are these interesting elements that go into that like, again, these studios, who knows, they'll sit on things. And now all of a sudden, I mean, at one point, I mean, it's Chris Hemsworth's, what, Thor, the success, Avengers, like, this guy's huge.
Yeah.
Now they turn back around. They say, hey, Josh Whedon, remember that movie that we let you make? Yeah, we're gonna show it now. Now we're gonna show it because this guy's huge, and it gives us even more. So that element to kind of twist through for it. I mean, that's why we're getting these directors who almost kind of operate on their own regard, because if the studio's in control, they know they lose everything. Talking
Yeah.
about Coogler controlling everything, having final say. I mean, that's what I want to see more of out of directors. I would rather watch a bad movie from a director who had total control than a movie that was bad and the director saying I had no say in the final product. The second Crow movie, which notoriously should have been pretty good, that director has openly stated how much they've cut from it. These are the things that change things and drastically change it. So it's kind of a bummer to see. So I'm hoping we do get more of that.
Yeah, it would be good, and I think there's going to be a very big push. Speaking a lot about Ryan Coogler, because even with his film, you had Tom Cruise come out and publicly state, like early on, this is a great movie, this is amazing, watch it. I don't care what anybody says about Tom Cruise when it comes to films. I love that man when it comes to his film aspect. Then you have same thing, like Ben Stiller gave that movie praise, and even Christopher Nolan like hosted a Q&A session for that movie like just a month ago. So it feels kind of good that some of these big names that up in like director spaces, actor spaces were there like being there for the movie. Because it feels
Yeah.
good to know that there's people who have a voice to be able to say these things, and they're using a voice to say things. So I think that carries weight as well. Because even what was it? Tom Cruise just filmed the scene for a Star Wars movie. I don't even know how that happened. But having these people there, like kind of giving praise, I think it's going to, maybe not immediately, but I think slowly it's going to start to turn the tide with different people and give more control to these directors, especially the directors who are making hits or showing that they can be successful with it. Because ultimately, with everything being consolidated into just 3 companies now, pretty much, Paramount still got shot down again for not getting HBO, which I don't want Netflix to have HBO, but I'd rather not Paramount have HBO. But all these studios it's just coming smaller and smaller for these studios. And obviously, some of these execs are going to be able to, there's already rumors going around of like list of that Paramount has of people not to work with now because of who owns them. And it's like, that's dog shit. That's dog shit. So it's gonna be interesting to see where it goes forward in the industry and what happens. Because ultimately, I think of it like this. Tubi popped up and Tubi got super popular. And Tubi originally had shit movies. Just shit. Just absolute shit movies and horrible originals. But people loved it. It's like that B movie craze where people like B movies that are just bad. And yeah, and they had it, and now Tubi's like super popular. But I think there's gonna be a point in time where if these film studios and production studios just keep fucking around, that you could have people make films and just be like, hey, I'm putting this on YouTube under a paywall. I'm going to put this on something, moving away from those people who are going to try to grasp too much control and just go off to something different and use that to make money. Because at a certain point in time, what's going to stop them? Like if you keep trying to grasp people's stories, if you keep trying to take control, what's going to stop people from just being like, you know what? We have all the power. We have the connections. There's a lot of us who could just come together and be like, you know what? Like, we're going to do our thing.
Okay.
No, that's it. It'll be interesting.
Well, and I always wonder because we're on the scale. I mean, we care about this stuff. We care about the arts and the future of these franchises where I've interacted with people that have no internal dialogue that can just go in and watch a movie. And, if they're the ones filling the seats, I think that's the unfortunate scale is all these studios. I mean, they're not looking to get rave reviews and praise from some of us. What they're looking at is who we're going to get to go put a butt in the seat. And, that's why these IPs, they hold on to them. It's why we just keep getting sequels, origin stories. So I think once they learn that they can take a chance that their audience is smarter, there's still a whole crowd of dummies that ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah.
I worked with somebody and I remember Drive came up and he goes, I don't know why they called it that. There wasn't a lot of driving in the movie. And I remember looking at the guy and I'm like, man, you're a fucking idiot. I was like, thinking about that Simpsons joke. I'm going to go, hey man, why don't you watch Naked Lunch? I can take 2 things wrong with it, with that title if you watch that. So, but that is the case of what we deal with people. Just, they don't know. They don't get it. So, it goes back into the studios thinking know what they want. And sometimes they take a chance, but I'm going to be honest, there's probably a bunch of times where they took a chance on it and they didn't fail. Taylor Kish, how many times did they try and make that guy a household star? What's the John from Mars or whatever failed?
Yeah,
I mean, the
there's
guy
so
was
much.
he was in every movie from 2010. There was a like an 8-year window. Just couldn't make it happen. And the studios learned real quickly. That's why they stopped taking chances.
Why?
You ruin it for everyone, Taylor.
That's also the thing is like, we're going to take chances on the worst people. Like, nothing proven. We're going to take a chance on it. It wasn't like, cause even with Taylor Kitsch, the cat was in Friday Night Lights, but like you said, John Carter bombed. Battleship bombed. Savages bombed. He was in Lone Survivor, didn't do good. Well, Lone Survivor, I don't even know if Lone Survivor did good. American Assassin, I like the movie. I still know of people who are just finding out about American Assassin and that thing existed. He was in Wolverine Origins. Felt so bad because he was terrible. But it's like they're taking the shots on just the worst people too. Because even with Sydney Sweeney, trying to make her the new leading woman, and I don't think I've seen some of her stuff. The only movie I haven't seen that I really want to see of hers was it Cherry, the boxing movie? I think that's what it's
Oh,
called.
Christy.
Christy, there you go. I'm thinking of something else. But everything else that I've seen her in, I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I see that people find you attractive, but is that it? Is that really why, like, what's going on here? Is that
Is
it that
it
you're just
is it
attractive?
the Keanu Reeves everyman? You know, there was this thing in the 90s that the reason people turned into Keanu Reeves movies is people were like, I could do that. If he can do it, I could do that. And now it's this realm where there's a narrative that goes against. I know people that don't like her, and that's the thing. I mean, is that the case? If it's just on sheer hotness, like when it comes to the arts, I don't care. Like I want the
Yeah.
movie to be entertaining and be good. So now she's getting shit on because people don't like her for such and such. And it's like, yo, does that mean that the movie's bad? Is it this? Is it that? And I mean, think about it. If you want to hate on everything the Weinsteins touch, it's like, well, they fucking produced all the movies that you wanted to watch. You know, I don't want to support them. They're monsters and they're terrible people, but it's hard. It's hard to not let, you know, a personal shape your opinion. And that goes again on the film, on everything else. I'm not gonna watch it because of this. All
I,
right.
I go, I go back to, um, Dave Chappelle. Whenever that stuff comes up, I go back to an old Dave Chappelle joke that was when he did that special and he was talking about, OJ Simpson and how people were talking about, he's like, let's be clear. He's like, that monster ran this many yards in the season, like set a record and stuff like that. And it's like, that's how I always feel about these people, especially when you got like some of these shitty people in it, like you're saying. I just like, yeah, that's a monster. That person's a monster, but they can act their ass off in this. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, just because I'm not gonna vie for them to be like, hey, put Kevin Spacey in more films. I know has like a rapist problem, but no, put him in more films. Put him in, it's like, nah, it's like Kevin Spacey, people loved him. He had a great acting career. Those fuck ups happened and now you don't see him in anything. I'm not at a loss for that. Does it mean I'm not gonna go back and watch Baby Driver? Crazy. Out of your mind. No, I'm gonna go back and watch it. And again, like, especially with the Harvey Weinstein thing, the Weinstein Company, they famously had beef with the movie that they acquired rights to stateside, Princess Mononoke, Studio Ghibli film, where he wanted to make some cuts and Miyazaki was like, nah, and sent him, I think it was a sword, talk about there would be no cuts and they left the shit alone. And it was like, yeah. So if you want to hate on him, cool, hate on him, but still remember, yeah, that is a Weinstein American side movie is Princess
Yeah.
Mononoke. So yeah, you're right about that. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, no matter how you feel about the person, they could be absolute dog shit and you could still, well, let me be clear before some people take this out of context. There is places where they should not be around. Like where it's like, I'm definitely nah. But if you're telling me like not to watch an old movie with somebody who sucks, nah, I'm probably gonna watch it. We're probably gonna watch it. If they suck now, they were sucking then, cool. That happened. Film is great. They could fuck off for the rest of their life. I really don't care. I don't have to see them ever again, but I will be watching maybe some of their old movies.
It's artistry versus the arts is always I mean, we know this from bands we like and listen to where you hear the stories of, you know, who touched who and did what. And, you know, it does become a thing because if you have personal stake in it, if it's something you care about, if tomorrow some shit came out about Rian Johnson, I still love Brick. It's still one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, it's not gonna.
I can separate from that fandom for it. So, and some people can't do that. And so now, like you said, the whole, oh, Kevin Spacey's in it, I don't want to watch it. And shit, all right. You're not going to watch the first couple Naked Guns because of OJ Simpson? That's fair.
Right? Yeah. Do that to yourself. Cause also remember, he's dead. Watch those movies if you feel like, and that's like, that's a unique place that people have gotten to. That's a unique place that people have gotten to. I think it's a bit of it is also like hyper vigilance, like over hyper vigilance, being like, I'm gonna be this person is somebody. It's like, dog, people don't. I promise you, people don't care as much as you making it seem like people care. It's not like you're saying. It's not like you're advocating for this person at all. And so, yeah, that's just interesting. I don't even know how I got to that point. The I guess before we got the only other thing that since it was the Golden Globes last night that's been on my mind is have you seen the Smashing Machine? That's the
No,
one
not
coming.
yet. I need to add. I've turned into this slug of bed where I'm like, I need to go back into the movie theater and go watch movies. So I really want to see. I do love Emily Blunt, so I do need to go see it.
The movie is so good. One, he did a phenomenal job. I'm gonna give it to him. He did a really good job in that film. Like he made me care about Mark Hurt. He did a great job. Emily Blunt, she did a great job too, but god damn, her character. Insane. It comes out, I think they're gonna do streaming this month. I think it's like around the 20th or something like that. They're gonna be doing some streaming for it. But with that being said, is there anything this year that you're looking forward to that's coming out?
R.I.P. to Wes Craven. I can't wait to see this new Scream movie. It's because it's going to be one of two things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you spent all this time focusing on Barrera and Ortega, and now they're gone. So finding out how they get written out of that movie, stoked on it. But I like Radio Silence. I think Radio Silence does good work.
Yeah.
So I'm ready to see what the effects where we kind of talked about it, like with actors, with people where they're also a representation of a brand, their own personal brand. So when people get whatever they say, regardless of your political affinity or what you stand on, like I love when a movie is still committed. They could have just ended it. They could have just never done another one. And they're like, no, we have to. And now they're going to write out two major characters. So I'm excited to see what they do because you're either going to ruin that legacy,
Yeah,
or they're going to pull it off. Think about it. You
that's
don't
true.
go to watch Evel Knievel crash. You want to see him make the jump. But if a crash happens, you'll be glad you saw it.
You'd be like, I was there. I was there.
I'll give it up for Doomsday. I'm ready to see. Robert Downey Jr. back in. Again, the stakes have already been set and knocked over and accomplished. So what are they going to do? What's Dr. Doom going to do?
I don't know. I'm still here and there since obviously, my background for comic books. I don't know. There's so much of it that for me it is, I just don't know. I'm not happy about him being Dr. Doom. And then you bring back Steve Rogers as Captain America. And then you bring in the X-Men. Now you have all of these stories that you have to fit into what? Are you going to make a 6-hour movie? You're going to make like a probably 2.5 to 3 hour movie. But it comes to, all right, let me give a little bit on this because it's frustrating. So X-Men, you bring back the original X-Men. You're bringing back the original Fox X-Men, not the first class.
Famke.
Yep. That's what you're bringing back. And then when you do your little teaser, it looks like they might be Sentinels in the background where Cyclops is on the ground and he hits his optic blast. But now for it to get to Doomsday, what do you do with them? Do you tell their story of what happened to them? Because everything looked devastated. They're older. Obviously, they made it clearly that they're older than the films. So what happened to their life? What happened with their story? Some's devastated. Why are they there? Now, Steve Rogers is back. Why is Steve Rogers back? Why is it not the old Steve Rogers? Because he went back, lived his life after the old Steve Rogers. Now you have the young Steve Rogers. What is going on in his life? He has a kid. Who is it with? Because it doesn't show who it's with. This is kind of crazy interesting. Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. What happens to Robert Downey Jr. to make him Dr. Doom? Because people are going to look at him and think that's Tony Stark. Here's the thing. They would never said his name. They just called him Doom. Is it Tony Stark as Doom or is it Victor Von Doom? There is no clear indication of it, but how's that going to be explained and go about? Why was Doom in, is it the same Doom that was in the Fantastic Four universe? Because they did have Laverium there, and he wasn't there until the end. It's true. Where does it go for them bringing them into a universe with everybody else? The other strange part about it is you had Thunderbolts, and in the end of Thunderbolts, you had Fantastic Four ships showed up. But in the Fantastic Four movie, you see none of that. That has nothing to do with that. So what is the connection there? What does that mean? Is that a different Fantastic Four? What is going on in that timeline? Now you're bringing all of these people together to tell a story, to tell a singular story. What is it? Because your other stuff leading up to it, let's be honest, there is nothing that is telling a story that could even be considered singular leading up to this. So what is going on with it? Now also knowing that you have that happening, and then a couple years down the line, you're going to have Secret Wars happen. And Secret Wars is just pretty much everybody against everybody. What is going to lead to that? So is this going to be chaos and confusion and hopefully that you can spread it out across some other movies after Doomsday until you get to Secret Wars? Or is it like, fuck it, we're just going to throw a Hail Mary? So that's a lot. That's the basis of my issue with that. I am so, I don't know.
They just want to keep adding the phases. And again, it's two things are going to happen. They're either going to clear the jump or it's going to crash. And this is either going to be the nail, because think about it, Eternals, Shang-Chi. I mean, all this stuff, all these efforts they tried to expand the universe and make the ones that failed, the ones that dropped off, like they know their bread and butter is the big box office with familiar names. So it's going to be interesting because this is either going to do it or it's not. And honestly, I'm excited to see what happens.
You're going to be there sitting like I was at the end of Infinity War, where everybody got snapped dead and I started laughing when everybody was like, huh? You're going to be like that if the movie fails, just to laugh at everybody.
I can't wait. Also, they dropped the ball. They should have had fucking Pedro Pascal be Victor Von Doom, the way he's always touching people. That's who should have been Victor Von Doom.
You know who my pick was? My pick for a lot of things is fucking, I was like, Adam Driver. Let Adam Driver be Victor Von Doom. But I have also done the same thing where at my old job for years straight, they're like, who should be this person? And I was like, Adam Driver. Yeah. Adam Driver should be everybody. And I did it for like everybody. And this one dude, he picked up and we're doing like a live sell for the thing. And he tried to say who should be Black Panther to me, thinking I was going to say Adam Driver. And I'm like, what? He was like, your guy. I was like, who you talking about? And he was like, Adam Driver. You pick him for everything. And I was like, why would I pick him for Black Panther? He's not black. Dog. I was like, you're missing the whole entire point of what I was doing. It's crazy.
It's great when you find out they have no sense of it. And the best satire is when you don't know if it's satire or not. That's the best.
That is true. That is true. That's like the Take Your Shoes Off. Have you seen Take Your Shoes Off with Rick Glassman?
No, I gotta add it on.
Bro, it's just a show that he does on YouTube. It is insane. If you ever get a chance to watch it, watch the Paul Rudd episodes, because if they're great, but at the same time, it's like, what is this thing at? But shit, I think that's gonna call it. Thank you, sir, for joining in today. It was great.
Thank you for letting me cough on camera. I'm so glad we could. This was not coordinated.
Right.
This was not coordinated.
Oh yeah, you could get yours. Yeah. Still like
This is my Stranger Things season 4 affinity for Hopper when he's in Russia.
this was my affinity
So
for Russians.
hey, there's nothing wrong with it. I like Florence Pugh.
The
So
warmest hat I've ever had. But yeah, with that, again, thank you for coming through. And you know what? I think I'm gonna call it a day. Call it a day.
calling in. Ahoy hoy, later, and we'll catch you across the board.
Hey.
Hey.